There should have to been a big lesson. They is chopping the tree down. A quick quivering. They're really good at this. So good. Surprises itself. Ding. If we snap. Palau and Bangladesh have the same fate as Japan. chopping the tree down too. Kaboosh!
Order food you love with Food Panda. Download the app.
you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, then make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Turn on those notifications and check out some of our other stuff.
超新减负游戏，采集工程全靠挂机，还能委托盟友托管队伍。没错，就是这款休闲策略手游《三国冰河时代》。游戏更新了超多降杆功能，利用碎片时间，派遣武将自动采集，上线就能领取几十万资源。平时活动开启自动集结，躺着也可以收元宝。就是最激烈的州府战，都能把队伍给联盟托管，兵力全靠系统分配。在游戏里，你身为一城之主，肩负一统三国的大业，壮大城镇的综合实力，在这乱世中雄踞一方。
I simulated a European battle royale where I put every nation on the continent against each other until only one remained. Nations will now also be able to form alliances, decreasing their chances of being annexed and increasing their chances of succeeding in wars. And let's just say the outcome was unexpected. Alright, first up we're having a war between Germany and the Netherlands. Because of course Germany would be the first nation to attack someone. Oh, but it backfired on them. The Netherlands just saved the entire world from a repeat of WW2. That's something I never thought I'd be saying. Next we have another war with Switzerland breaking their neutrality to attack the Netherlands. Is there like an alliance between Germany and Switzerland that I don't know about? Cause there must be if it's enough to break Switzerland's neutrality. But it seems like the Swiss will not be winning this. Can someone tell me when the Netherlands got this powerful? First they take out the Germans and now the Swiss. The Netherlands has already taken out 2 German-speaking nations, which makes me think that Austria could be next. Let's just hope no Austrians got rejected from art school this time. Okay, we have a war again, and Iceland will be attacking someone this time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they actually have a military. But despite this, they'll be attacking the United Kingdom. I guess they still haven't forgotten about the British occupying them during World War II. They succeed, the British are gone. Alright, so somehow Iceland with their 0-man army conquered the entire United Kingdom. I mean, to be honest, considering how many elite level strawmen are from Iceland, I don't think this outcome is that unlikely. So far in this video, literally nothing has made sense. Now we have a war between Albania, not sure who Albania has beef with, and they're gonna be attacking Kosovo. This is like a brother on brother fight here. Oh, but Kosovo is not having none of that. Albania's plan has backfired and has come straight back at him. Hey, don't worry, the Balkans is gonna look much worse very soon. Okay, looks like it's time for our first rebellion. No! He got rejected from art school, guys. I'd be looking to make allies very soon if I was Poland right now. Next is a war between Kazakhstan. Just so you guys know, Kazakhstan only has 1 border. Man, who's Kazakhstan gonna be going against? Russia? Nah, you gotta be joking, bro. I thought they were gonna be going after the Caspian Sea. Okay, Russia's gonna be taking out Kazakhstan. It's good to see that Russia's already trying to remake the Soviet Union. We have a war again. Czechia will be attacking. Ooh, Slovakia. They will remake Czechoslovakia whether the Slovaks like it or not. I mean, no matter who wins this, we're gonna have Czechoslovakia again. They lose it. The Slovaks also supported the reunification of Czechoslovakia, just on their own terms. We're now one step closer to remaking the borders from 1939. Okay, we're having another rebellion, and Albania is returning. It's gotta be pretty awkward between them and Kosovo now. Okay, one more war between Monaco. I was curious who they'd be attacking for a second there, but then I realized it's another one of these situations. So will they be beating France? That's the question. No, they're not. Okay, now it's between Bulgaria fighting against Romania, and another nation loses. I think you guys just gotta stop attacking other nations, because it's clearly not going out well. I think Iceland is the only nation to have won in this entire video so far. And finally, we're having our first alliance. It'll be between San Marino and Luxembourg. Alright, I'll color them the same color so we know they're ally. And there we go, we now have our glorious microstate alliance. Okay, now we have Kosovo attacking North Macedonia. I feel like out of all their neighbors, that's the one I'd expect the least. Let's see if someone can actually win something though. Nope, no one can win. Nothing makes sense in this video. Now it's Russia making a move. I don't like where this is going. Of course they are. Of course I don't know what I was expecting. Russia, work with me here. I'm trying to keep this video monetized. But hey, I guess if it follows the same pattern as the rest of this video, they'll lose and
用恒生信用卡賺翻嚟嘅加分 dollars 喺全港15萬間線上線下商戶任你使。買
But hey, I guess if it follows the same pattern as the rest of this video, they'll lose and I have no words. Guys, I swear I'm not being bankrolled by Big Vlad. But hey, let's look on the bright side. I'm not going to be falling out of any windows anytime soon. And no missiles will be hitting any helicopters I'm on as well. You know what? Maybe this isn't such a bad thing. Alright, we have another war. Looks like Malta will be doing something. So many choices. Okay, we're back to this again. Of course, Russia was the only exception to the rule. Now we'll have Germany. Look who's back. Going after Slovakia. Guys, remember, no one wins, right? And we continue with our series of losses. He's gone again, guys. There's no way he will come back again. That's assuming he did leave Austria, right? Now we have Armenia. I know they're not in Europe, but I put them in anyways. They're basically Europe. Oh, I see we're going back to, recent history. And it looks like Armenia, though, will be breaking the curse. I was a little scared that they might have gone after a certain nation to their west. And we'll have another conflict with Slovakia again. And they'll be going after Luxembourg's alliance. And because they're going after a nation in an alliance, they have an increased chance to lose. And they did indeed lose. So now all of this will be going to Luxembourg. The microstate alliance is going macro. And it appears that another alliance will be forming. Okay, Serbia is going to make allies with Estonia. This one's definitely interesting. An unlikely alliance to say the least. We'll see how it works out. Now it's time to see a fight between, oh god, Russia again. Oh no, this is not good for Armenia. Oh, no shot. And it looks like Russia is losing this. I should have never underestimated the might of Armenia. Alright, now it's the Norwegians attacking Iceland. I see we now have a great Viking war. And the Norwegians are winning this one. History is once again repeating itself, and Norway once again owns Iceland. They've also returned to the shores of Britain as well. They're now truly the North Sea Empire. Now we have Belgium fighting against the Netherlands. I feel like I've seen this somewhere before, but it seems that Belgium will return to Dutch rule. Now the Netherlands is just one Luxembourg away from owning all of Benelux. Alright, we have the Latvians attacking the Estonians. Remember that Estonia does have an alliance with Serbia, so this may turn out poorly for Latvia. Or not. I guess Latvia is just built different. This now means that not only is Estonia taken by Latvia, but because Serbia was in their alliance as well, they're taken out also. These borders are only getting better. But as one alliance falls, another rises. And we'll see Montenegro joining forces with Armenia. Alright, now we have one of the smallest nations and the largest nation on the map joining together. Time for a conflict between Moldova and Armenia. That alliance should definitely come in handy for them. And somehow, surprisingly, it actually does. Goodbye to Europe's most forgettable nation. And it appears it's once again time for a rebellion. And an amazing return from the Icelandics. They weren't gonna let the fact that they have no military stop them. Now we have Denmark characteristically fighting the Swedes, and they will win out. I know all the Swedes are clenching their fists at the mere thought of being taken over by Denmark. But hey, now all you Swedes get to say you're from the same country as Legoland. It seems conflict is brewing between Liechtenstein and Austria, but it looks like Austria will be taking this. Hey, did you guys hear about Austria's new leader? They say he's a big fan of painting. I expect only good things. Okay, time for Albania again to go after North Macedonia. But it seems like North Macedonia will be winning. I guess in the end, Albania and Kosovo were united just under the North Macedonian banner. Now we have Montenegro fighting Croatia. Yeah, I am not looking forward to these borders. And they do it. You know, thank you, Montenegro. The Balkans borders were looking a little too clean. Now this is the Balkans I know. But it appears another rebellion is brewing. And a nation that literally no one wanted to return, Monaco, is coming back. I guess this is great for all the fans of the Monaco Grand Prix. And now due to this massive change, it's like I can barely recognize the map. We have a war with the Finns attacking Norway, and the Finns will pull out on top. There has never been a better time than right now to invest in Nokia. But now it's time for a conflict between
invest in
Poland,
Nokia.
their old member of the Commonwealth, Lithuania. And we will see the Commonwealth return just on Lithuania's terms. I mean, if any of their neighbors were to annex them, I think Lithuania is probably the best choice. Looks like it's another rebellion, with Croatia returning this time. The Balkans really just can't decide what they want to be. First they get annexed, then they come back, then they get annexed again. Like, these Balkan nations just gotta pick something and stick with it. Alright, time for a war. Lithuania again, fighting Latvia. And neither of them have an alliance, so this will be a fair match. But the Lithuanians are narrowly defeated by Latvia. The brutal battles of the Baltics have now ended, with Latvia now proving that they are truly the best of the Baltics. I'd like to note that France, Spain, and Italy have done nothing this entire video, and the Greeks and Turks are also yet to act up. But something's telling me that war between these nations is gonna break out very soon. Now we'll see a war between Romania and the North Macedonians, but somehow North Macedonia will win this. Did you know that the B in North Macedonia stands for beautiful borders? Yeah, me neither. Now we'll have Latvia attacking Armenia. Let's see if that alliance with Montenegro will help them. And indeed it does. The biggest nation on the map now gets even bigger, and poor Belarus is now completely surrounded. Okay, it's between the Portuguese, we finally see some action from them, and Spain. And it seems like Iberia will be united, but under the Spanish. Spain is no longer in Spain without the S. Am I the only person who thinks Iberia would look really great united? This is probably one of my favorite imaginary borders. But it appears it's finally time for another alliance, this time between Denmark and Hungary. I guess the Danes and Hungarians were feeling a little closed in by Luxembourg's and Armenia's alliance. Alright, we have another Balkan nation, Bosnia, and they're being smart and fighting the only nation they border that's not in an alliance, because Armenia owns Serbia and Montenegro's here as well. And it worked out very well for them because they just won. The world's landmine capital just got a little bigger. Now it's Hungary attacking the Austrians. And since they're in an alliance with Denmark, this is looking
Austria-Hungary.
Austria. Never mind. It's actually turning out great for Austria. Man, this new Austrian leader is really a military genius. Anyways, it looks like there will be
Austria-Hungary.
in Kosovo. I guess it's good to know that the chaoticness of the Balkans never changes. Now we'll see the Greeks finally doing something, and surprisingly they're not attacking Turkey, though I'm sure they wish they did because they just won. The Byzantine Empire minus Byzantium has returned, where we'll see Armenia making another alliance, now inviting Cyprus to the alliance. Now Cyprus, Armenia, and Montenegro are the first alliance to have 3 members. But now we're back to another war, with Armenia promptly going on the offensive thanks to their new alliance with Cyprus, and these 3 will be flexing their muscles against Georgia. This is just hard to watch. And very unsurprisingly, they beat Georgia. I'm sorry, Georgia, you never stood a chance. Now we'll see the Netherlands, we haven't heard from them in a while, finally getting France to do something. I'm baffled at how the French have been able to go the entire game without doing anything, especially considering how many nations they border. And they're not really helping themselves with that whole surrender reputation. France really went the entire game just to surrender instantly to the Netherlands. Classic France. I wouldn't have expected anything less. Alright, now we'll see an alliance be formed between Kosovo and Ireland. Once again, a very interesting alliance. Kosovo and the Irish. I wouldn't have expected that. Alright, we have the Finns fighting with the Icelandics. Let's see if their no-man army will work wonders again. But unfortunately, it doesn't work this time. Hopefully Iceland is gone for good this time. Alright, it's Spain versus the Netherlands. Since the Netherlands is pretty much Napoleonic France now, you could see this as another peninsular war. But unfortunately for Spain, they won't win this time. I never thought the Netherlands, out of all nations, would be getting this far. They pretty much control the entirety of mainland Western Europe now. Now we'll see a fight between Andorra and, well, the Netherlands. If Andorra actually wins this, it's gonna be insane. But, maybe I spoke a little too soon. How could you let me down like this, Andorra? An alliance again, with the Italians allying with the Bosnians. This alliance does kind of make sense. The Italians do want that Adriatic coast. Now the vast majority of the continent is in an alliance. I'm expecting some major wars between alliances very soon. For now, though, we have a rebellion, in which we'll see Albania return for the second time. Why are you here? I swear, these two right here somehow always find a way to come back. Once again, we have an alliance. Looks like Kosovo is going to be inviting someone to their alliance. Kosovo is going to be inviting Kosovo to their alliance. Let's do this again. Kosovo is inviting Austria to their alliance. Kosovo, is there something you want to tell us? I mean, how could you never have told us that you had such a keen eye for allies? But with Austria now on their side, they're now the second alliance to have 3 members. And now it's time for a war. And it appears the Microstate Alliance will be going after someone. And that someone is the only nation on their borders without an alliance, the Netherlands, which they will take down. Here we have Luxembourg proving once again that size isn't everything. And while Luxembourg has been doing all the work, San Marino has just been sitting here. Now we'll see the Italians attacking San Marino. Italy definitely heard me and also just realized that San Marino still exists. But this war is also a war between 2 alliances, both with 2 members each. And the Italian alliance takes down the microstates. Not only will Italy now take over San Marino, but also Luxembourg as well. It's official, guys. Rome is back. Alright, it seems that now a nation will rebel. And that nation is Croatia. Can these Balkan nations just stop coming back? I don't know how they're doing it, but the Balkan nations are finding the way to come back every single time. I think I'm starting to understand why this region has so much conflict. We're now back to a war, which will see Montenegro fighting Croatia. Is it just me? I'm having deja vu. This is the second time this has happened. There we have it. Croatia is gone for the second time in the exact same way. Croatia really went through all the trouble to come back again just to fall to the hands of Montenegro again. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Slovenia actually doing something for the first time in this entire game, but since they waited so long to do anything, they're now completely surrounded by other alliances, and they choose to fight Austria's alliance, and they lost. Shocking! Hey, let's look on the bright side here. Austria finally gets a coastline. We have Belarus going against the only nation they border, Armenia. This is a very similar situation to Slovenia. And just like Slovenia, they don't win. But Belarus, you are a necessary sacrifice. Because now Armenia's borders look amazing. An alliance again. Pretty much everyone is in an alliance now, so I'm curious to see where this goes. Okay, Monaco, they're not in an alliance, and they'll be joining forces with the Greeks. I really don't think Monaco will be helping them that much, but hey, I guess every little bit counts, right? This also just made me realize, where has Turkey been this entire game? The same goes for Mr. Pope Francis over here. Yes, he has been here the entire time, just watching. But never mind that, it's time for war. It'll be Kosovo's alliance versus Montenegro's alliance. They're both equal in members with 3 each, so it'll be a fair match. And Kosovo's alliance wins it. The Armenian alliance, which has been so dominant for so long, has now met its end. And with this development, we're now nearing our final few nations. The Italian alliance to the west, the Austrian alliance to the east, the Greek alliance to the south, and the nations of Finland, Albania, Turkey, and Vatican City are still without an alliance. It's going to be a war again, with Italy's alliance fighting against the Austrian alliance. Due to having less members, they are at a slight disadvantage though. But it did not matter, as they still pulled out on top. Say goodbye to Kosovo, Austria, and Ireland because Rome is in town. Europe is now completely dominated by Italy's alliance, despite having only 2 members. But with the end of Austria's alliance, there remains only 2 alliances, the Italian and the Greek. Perhaps we'll now see a conflict between the two. Or perhaps the Vatican will strike. The Pope has awoke, and he has his eyes on Caesar. But unfortunately for him, his haughtiness would be his end. Now all of the Italian peninsula is Roman territory, and it's war again, with Monaco going after the only nation they can, Italy. Fortunately for them though, their alliance with Greece evens the scales, and narrowly, the Monacans win. Perhaps the true successor to Rome was Monaco all along. Now we'll see the Turks finally acting, and obviously they'll choose to go after Greece. These two have avoided confrontation for so long, but now they can't avoid it. And it appears that the Turks win. The Turks were playing the long game, and it worked out very well for them. Watch out, Europe. The Ottomans are back in town. We're now finally down to our final 3 with all alliances.
Super Ottoman Empire.
Second to last battle between Helen from Vatican City. The Pope has just been resurrected in the final round, and I am terrified. So now we have three nations left: Finland, Albania, and Vatican City. And we will have a war between Albania and Finland. I guess whoever wins here will go on to fight the Pope. And our winner is Albania. This is it, the final round. It's the final showdown between Albania and Pope Francis II. And we will have our final. The attacker will be Albania. The Albanians have made it their mission to strike down the Pope and end this royale once and for all. This is it, the finale. For the final time, let's spin the wheel. No, he's done it. The Pope has done it. Pope Francis II, against all the odds, came back and conquered the entire continent of Europe. 51 nations on this continent, and out of all of them, the smallest, not only in the European continent, but in the world, the smallest nation has now expanded to only an entire continent. On a real note, though, I was not expecting that. Going into this royale,
Including
what I
Finland,
was expecting
has been conquered by Vatican City.
all of Europe was definitely not it. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and just remember, the Pope is always watching. I simulated an Asian battle royale where I put every nation on the continent and guess one another until only one remained. Just like previous royales, nations will have the chance to form alliances and start rebellions at random points in the video. But now countries will also be able to form historic empires after conquering enough of their neighbors.
Qing Dynasty?
Not what I was expecting. Alright, we'll be starting with a war. The first nation to attack is Iran. I see we're off to
Iraq.
a great start with Saddam Hussein coming back to power. And this time he'll be going after Syria. Well, at least he's learned from his mistakes in Kuwait, deciding not to go after them this time. But will he win, though? Let's find out. And he will not. Iraq really cannot catch a break. You know, these past few decades have been so bad for Iraq that I kind of feel bad for them. Like, Iraq went after Iran, and that didn't go very well. Then they went after Kuwait, and that went even worse. And now for a third time going after Syria? I guess Saddam never learns. Next up, another war, where we'll see Oman fighting with the United Arab Emirates. Why am I not surprised that the Middle East is where all the conflict is breaking out? Well, let's see what happens. And it looks like Oman will be our first winner. Despite their economy being 5 times the size of Oman's, it seems the UAE stood no chance against the mighty Omani forces. This now makes Oman the home of the world's tallest building. Now it's a war between China, making their first move, and one of these 15 countries. And that country will be Mongolia. I see they're trying to stop Genghis Khan in his tracks before it's too late. Or perhaps this could just be the start of the Neo-Mongol Empire. And China loses. Boys, Genghis is back. It seems like the dreams of a new Qing dynasty have already been snatched away. But in their demise, we have the return of the Great Khan. But honestly, why am I actually just not surprised? If China was to fall to anyone, it would be the Mongols. But now it seems like we'll be having our first alliance. And it'll be between Malaysia and India. Interesting. Not exactly an alliance that I was expecting. But to be fair, this is definitely something I could see happening in real life. But as it stands, the new Indo-Malaysian alliance is our first of the Royale. And it seems we have back-to-back alliances. This time, though, it'll be between Singapore and Armenia. Okay, this one is interesting. Like, don't get me wrong, I completely understand why Singapore decided to make an alliance right after India allied with their neighbor, but why with Armenia out of all nations? Like, I don't know if you know this, guys, but there's a bit of distance between you two. But you know what? An alliance is an alliance. I won't judge. Next up, a war between Tajikistan and Afghanistan. Tajikistan, I don't know if attacking the nation literally known as the graveyard of empires is really the best decision. But who knows? Maybe it'll work out for them. Nah, it did not work out for them. I mean, Tajikistan, you can't say I didn't warn you. The British failed, the Russians failed, failed, the Americans failed, and now Tajikistan will be added to that list. Alright, now it's South Korea attacking either North Korea or Japan. I have to include maritime borders here because if I didn't, Japan would just win by default, since literally nobody could attack them. But it looks like that doesn't matter anyways because South Korea will be starting up the Korean War again. This is like what, our fifth nation in, and if this was real life, we've probably already started a nuclear war at this point. But fortunately, that isn't the case, so let's find out which Korea is best Korea. And it appears that title will be going to the South. It took 70 years, but Korea is finally whole again. And you may think this is the end for old Kim, but fear not. You see, he actually managed to make a deal with the South where he would become the director of their newly formed nuclear weapons program. But other than that, I think this is the perfect time to establish our first formidable nation. For the first time in over 100 years, say hello to a united Korea. And North Korea has been integrated as a core territory of this new nation, which unfortunately for the North means that they will not be coming back. Alright, next to war, with Cambodia fighting their neighbors in Vietnam. As an American, I'm already getting flashbacks. But never mind that, let's find out what'll happen. And it seems like Cambodia will not be winning this one. But I mean, if we're pretending this is the 1970s, Cambodia wasn't really the best place at the time. But I mean, to be fair, I guess pretty much nowhere in Indochina was really that great at the time. But let's be honest, anything's better than Pol Pot. But now at least Vietnam is only one nation away from being able to form Indochina. Next up is a war between Bangladesh and India. Considering the fact that India is in an alliance and Bangladesh is not, I don't really suspect this is going to go too well for them. Since it's two nations against one, the odds are not in Bangladesh's favor. But who knows, maybe they can pull out a miracle. Yeah, that makes sense. I think you guys can see now why it's so important that nations get an alliance as soon as possible. Because if they don't, they have the chance of getting mopped up by the nations that are in alliances. Alright, the nation of Bahrain will be fighting Saudi Arabia. For reference, this is Bahrain, and this is Saudi Arabia. But of course, real world logic doesn't apply here, so anything can happen. Or maybe real world logic does apply here because they lost. I mean, yeah, that just makes a lot of sense actually. Even though I do kind of think Bahrain is a little underrated, it really wouldn't make sense if they took out Saudi Arabia. You know, honestly, so far nothing too out of the ordinary has happened, other than, you know, Mongolia taking over all of China, and Singapore allying with Armenia. But I mean, realistically, it could be a lot worse. Hopefully I'm not jinxing myself here. And now it seems like we'll be having our first nation to rebel. And the nation returning is the United Arab Emirates. And of course, the first rebellion would obviously be happening in the Middle East. I expected nothing less. But I guess congrats to the United Arab Emirates for being our first nation to return. Alright, apparently another rebellion. And of course, Bahrain is coming back. Yeah, obviously another Middle Eastern nation would be the one to rebel. That sounds about right. Alright, but hopefully this is where the Middle Eastern rebellion trend stops though. Because instead we're getting an alliance where we'll be having Nepal allying with Brunei. Alright, seriously though, what is with these random Southeast Asian nations allying with countries that don't even have a coastline? Like, on a strategic level, this does make a lot of sense with both Nepal and Brunei allying themselves against the Indo-Malaysian alliance. But like, on a realistic level, how is this gonna work? But to be fair, realism was thrown out the window the second Mongolia took over all of China. So let's just keep moving. Now it's Thailand versus Laos. And it looks like Laos will be taking this one. At this point, I've learned to always expect the unexpected. And it looks like they'll be fighting with Vietnam over control of Indochina. That'll be interesting to see. Though I am a tad bit surprised the Russians haven't done anything yet. They're biding their time. And that scares me. But anyways, time for a war between Brunei and, well, Malaysia. But this is actually very interesting because this means we'll see our first war between alliances. And as it's a winner-take-all system, one of these two factions is going down. But since both of the alliances have 2 members, it will be an even fight. Insane. And the Indo-Malaysian alliance loses against the Brunei-Nepal alliance. This now means that Nepal will be taking all of India, and Brunei will be taking all of Malaysia. The continent's balance of powers has now been completely turned on its head. Both India and Malaysia are no more. India especially being gone is a major development. But you never know, there's always the chance they could come back. Speaking of coming back, we have a rebellion. No way. That is crazy. That is actually crazy. Well, speak of the devil. Yeah, India did not let that slide. On the bright side for Nepal though, they get to keep Bangladesh, so they technically have a coastline now. But still, that's absolutely wild. And now it's time for an alliance between the United Arab Emirates and Palestine. Alright, good. We're getting back to more realistic scenarios. 2 Arab nations allying with each other makes perfect sense. And finally, a normal development. Next, it's war between Lebanon and Israel. Look, I know I said I wanted it to be a little more realistic, but not that realistic. And, Lebanon loses for legal reasons. I have nothing to say about this. This is certainly a development. Truly something has just occurred. How curious. That's all I have to say. Moving on. Next, it's Jordan. I don't like where this is going. Oh my god. Against Israel. Because of course it's Israel. Okay, let's just spin the wheel. And Jordan wins it. Once again, this is certainly a development. For some reason, I just have absolutely nothing to say about this. It's like any meaningful commentary is just escaping my brain for some reason. How strange. But now it's time for a war between Qatar and Bahrain. We really just aren't leaving the Middle East, are we? And they lose. I suppose second time is the charm for Bahrain. Next is Georgia against Russia. You know, I would have thought that Russia would have been the attacker, but yeah, whatever. Georgia. What did you expect, guys? What did you expect? But even so, this development does mean that the Russians are now on the prowl. Okay, next, Bahrain again, going against the only nation they border, Saudi Arabia. It's rematch time. Bahrain may have lost the first time, but they're out for vengeance. They're 0-2, guys. 0-2. I was rooting for you guys. You literally had a second chance. You came back from the dead. You took out Qatar, and you still managed to lose for the second time to Saudi Arabia. Bahrain, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. But now it's alliance time, and it'll be between Korea, and Korea will be allying with Bhutan. Alright, I see the trend of allying with landlocked nations only continues. You know, maybe there's something super strategic about allying nations that are thousands of miles away from you, but I'm just not seeing it. I see we're just on a roll of the alliances now, and it's gonna be Turkmenistan and Syria. You know, honestly, this is actually a pretty fair alliance. They're not that far away from each other. I think they could probably coordinate a little bit here. So yeah, probably the most normal-ish alliance we've gotten so far. Next, we have a war where we'll see the UAE against Saudi Arabia. And even though Saudi Arabia is a lot larger than the UAE, remember they have an alliance with Palestine, so this one will actually be in the UAE's favor. Let's find out what happens. And looks like they do it. They take out the giant of Arabia. Unfortunately, the Saudis' victory against Bahrain was short-lived, as they're now being conquered by the United Arab Emirates. And this means that the UAE is probably now the world's largest producer of oil by far. Also, I do want to mention that the Maldives are on this map. They just have been quietly waiting. It's always the quiet ones, isn't it? Next up, Kuwait versus Syria. And Syria is in an alliance with Turkmenistan, but unfortunately for Kuwait, they were gonna have to fight an alliance either way. But Kuwait does not care because they just won. Is it just me, or is Kuwait just built different? They seem to always be on the winning sides of things. First it was against Iraq, now this. And yes, they do take control of Turkmenistan, because if one member of the alliance loses, all of them lose. Whether they border them or not, it doesn't matter. The higher they are, the harder they fall. Alright, now it's Kazakhstan against Uzbekistan. I see they're aiming for control of all of Central Asia, but it looks like that will not be working out for them. I mean, on the bright side, you escaped being conquered by Russia, but on the not so bright side, you still got conquered by Uzbekistan. Next, Afghanistan. Going at it with Pakistan. The war of the stands continue, and surprisingly, Afghanistan actually loses. Yeah, loses. Come on, let's not kid ourselves here.
X Wallet 一站式貸款服務平台，實際年利率低至1.15%，最快5秒批核，1分鐘過數，24/7全年無憂，無需證明文件，申請簡單方便，立即下載 X Wallet，5秒現金即到手，祝福謝先生還
全新煙肉蛋同最佳麥 Griddles，套餐優惠價35蚊起。
Might kid ourselves here. We know they're gonna come back. But anyways, the number of stands is slowly dwindling. With only 3 remaining, I think we could soon be seeing the formation of Stanistan. How glorious that would be. Okay, a rebellion. We haven't had one of those in a minute. So the nation returning is no way. Bahrain. Hey, I have to give it to them. These guys do not give up. Like, to be honest, I don't even know how to feel. I'm both shocked as well as filled with awe and respect for Bahrain for coming back so many times. Bahrain, I have to respect the crowd. I'll give you that. And we're back to war. This time we'll see the Cold Alliance. They'll be fighting against Mongolia. Yes, Mongolia is at a disadvantage here, but it's the Mongols, guys. Look, I'm not expecting them to win, but I would not be surprised if they did. And the winner is Nepal. You know, I never thought I would ever be talking about Nepal taking out a neo-ruling empire, but here we are. And even though they won, I wouldn't say this is a good thing necessarily for Nepal, because now they border a lot more nations, which means they have a lot higher of a chance of being attacked. But if Nepal keeps doing as well as they've done so far, I think they actually have a legitimate shot at winning it all. We'll see though. Next, a rebellion. Returning this time is Israel. Very interesting. Another development. Guys, is it just me or is the map changing? This is truly one of the changes of all time. Alright, now we have the Uzbeks challenging the Russians. Very risky move, Uzbekistan, but it may pay off for you. And in fact, it does. Uzbekistan has taken out... Wait, are you guys telling me you've never heard about the Uzbek March on Moscow? It seems now that 2 great powers have formed on this continent, Uzbekistan and Nepal. Not something I thought I would be saying today, but I guess life is just full of surprises. Time for conflict between India against Nepal. This could either be the solidification of Nepal's hegemony or a complete uproar. Still, it's really interesting that India didn't go after Pakistan, but I suppose Nepal is probably the bigger threat right now. And India has done it. They've won. They've taken down Nepal. What a momentous moment for the continent. India, in one fell swoop, have taken out both Nepal and Brunei. India, despite all the odds, despite not having an alliance, despite already having been eliminated, came back, took down Nepal, and now owns a third of the continent. They're truly the underdog of this game right now. And while that is very impressive, what's even more impressive is the Philippines and Indonesia's ability to do anything. Like, while all of their neighbors have been going ham, they've just been chilling. If they stand so incredibly still for long enough, they could actually make it out on time. Same goes for the Turks as well, oddly enough. Like, I was honestly expecting Turkey to be the one on the prowl right now, but they're just uncharacteristically inactive. Perhaps that'll change soon. We'll see. Next, it's Jordan against the UAE, and this is not looking very good for Jordan. And like I expected, they've lost. On the right side, though, Palestine finally gets to see some expansion. No longer are they trapped in the West Bank. Now to work to Palestine. Apparently, they've decided they're going on the offensive now. The offensive against Greece. Man, what an interesting, unfriendly confrontation between these 2 nations in the western half of the Asian continent. Let's find out.
The road war has gone through. Israel wins. Yeah, it's like a reality.
The best solution to your problems is silence. I want to reiterate, this is a game simulation, not real. I am separating myself from all blame predators. You see, guys, the IS doesn't stand for Israel. It actually stands for Intergalactic Slovenia. You see, the Slovenians just came back from the moon and they decided that this would be their perfect landing space. Can we all agree on that, guys? Okay, cool. And I almost forgot that the intergalactic Slovenians also conquered the United
Pakistan and
Are you kidding me? I don't know what to say right now. Alright, so India, the most populous nation in the world, the largest nation on this map, just got conquered by a nation who's not even gonna be on the map in 30 years. You know, right about now, I really need something normal to happen. Well, to anyone who lives in the red area, say hello to your new Maldivian overlords. How did we get here? I'm not joking when I say this. This is the most cursed map yet. Please, just some normal war. Taiwan, okay, sure, but just a normal outcome, the Philippines. In an ideal world, the Philippines will...
no, they're friends.
That's what's gonna happen. My sanity depends on war. Once in my life, I am actually begging that the Philippines wins this. Oh my god, I'm going to say that. Well, it seems that the Philippines has lost to Taiwan. That's it. That's all I have to say. Rebelling. Right. Who will get independence? But you look back, Cambodia. Something normal happened for once. This is a momentous moment. I am so happy for you, Cambodia. Thank you for finally taking us back to reality. I think this is the start of something new, something better. I feel like we're finally back on track. Okay, great war. And it's a war with the Japanese. Uzbekistan, okay. And they lose to Uzbekistan. You know, honestly, okay, that makes sense. I respect it. This actually makes perfect sense. Uzbekistan, the nation that owns half of the continent, conquering Japan. That makes sense. I like this. This is good. You know, right now, I think Uzbekistan is probably my favorite. Have I ever said how much I love Uzbekistan? It's just such a great place. You know, shout out to all of the people from Uzbekistan. You guys are amazing. You've made my day.
Uzbeks.
Next war will be Kyrgyzstan against the Maldives. And the Maldives. Say goodbye to the Maldives. I don't know about you guys, but I, for one, welcome our new Kyrgyz overlords. Or should I say the new Stan overlord. Okay, next up, an alliance between Turkey finally doing something and Cyprus. Alright, so just real life, I guess. You know, something's telling me that Turkey's probably going to be carrying the alliance a little bit. But hey, I'm sure Cyprus is trying their best. Alright, time for war between Yemen and look at that, our good Slovenian friends. But unfortunately for them, it looks like Yemen has won. It seems like their little venture on Earth just wasn't meant to be. But this now means that Yemen is the clear frontrunner for uniting Arabia. And though I doubt defeating Oman will be much of a challenge, you have to remember Bahrain is still here. You better watch out for them. Next, it's Uzbekistan against Azerbaijan. Since Uzbekistan is pretty much the Soviet Union at this point, we know they're going after their oil fields. And they will succeed. That's right, boys. The Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict has ended. It's just that Uzbekistan wants the one to do it. Okay, next up, Vietnam technically has exactly the same borders as they started with since they lost Cambodia. Challenging the great and mighty Kyrgyzstan. Old new Vietnam. Old new. And they win it. I guess losing Cambodia was all part of their master plan. After thousands of years of fighting with them, the Vietnamese have finally conquered China. But we seem to now be having another returning nation. And that nation will be Malaysia. And yet another nation gets independence from Vietnam. Next is a war between Iran and Pakistan. If Pakistan gets out, that means we only have one stat remaining. And our winner will be Pakistan. I knew the stats wouldn't be going down that easily. It seems like the nations in the Middle East are really starting to consolidate a new alliance. Okay, Armenia. Since Armenia is already in an alliance, whichever nation is picked next will just join theirs. So no matter what happens, we'll have our first three-nation alliance. Obviously it's Bahrain. How do these guys manage to find a way to win in every situation? The fact that they're in a three-nation alliance pretty much guarantees their safety till we get to the bottom of you. Like a cockroach, they never die. But now we're back to another war. It's gonna be Laos versus Vietnam. So I'm pretty much expecting Laos to win because no nation has been able to hold both India and China for more than maybe 2 years. Yep, that's what I thought. And now Laos inherits the curse of owning this much land. Like I said, it's pretty risky to get too big too early on. I will genuinely be shocked if Laos lasts maybe another 5 rounds. Alright, next, it's Taiwan challenging Uzbekistan. And Taiwan's able to do that because they technically have a maritime border with them on the southern islands of Japan. But of course, no one stands a chance against Uzbekistan. You should have seen this coming, Taiwan. But now it looks like Uzbekistan is pretty much just trying to navally blockade everyone on the Pacific coast. Next, more alliances. There is no way. Are you telling me Bahrain is about to get a 4-nation alliance? Someone please explain to me, what is it about this place? What is so great about Bahrain? I know I said at the beginning of the video, oh yeah, I think Bahrain's kind of underrated. I changed my mind. Okay, let's see who joins them. And it looks like Pakistan's joined the team. So now this is basically just a Middle Eastern alliance plus Singapore. And I was really out here doubting Singapore's alliance with Armenia at the beginning of the video. Who knew that allying with Armenia would be the ticket to victory? But at the same time, if someone does beat them, that's 4 nations out at once. Now it's a conflict between Yemen. Oh no, they're going against Bahrain. Yeah, buddy, it's over for you. For reference, this is what their probability of winning looks like. They are not winning. This was not a good idea, Yemen. I feel like Bahrain's just like the mafia boss of Asia now. Bahrain and their cronies are just sweeping through the Middle East now. And I'm pretty sure I can confidently say that they will be the ones forming Arabia. But before they're able to do that, it's time for a rebellion. What? At this point, Arabia's just never getting formed. I really have to stop jinxing myself. So I'm just going to use reverse psychology and say Arabia is not going to get formed. And considering the fact we're having a rebellion, I don't think the reverse psychology thing works. Surely it won't be a Middle Eastern nation. Surely. Oh, okay, I guess Japan's not a Middle Eastern nation. No, Korea should be very... Next up, Bahrain. I'm so sorry for whoever they're attacking, deciding to go after Oman this time around. Let's not waste any time. We already know how this is gonna go. Wait, what? You're telling me Oman just completely wiped out the largest alliance in this game? 4 nations, and they just defeated them like that. Oman, you did it. You took out Bahrain, you took out Pakistan, you took out Armenia, you even took out Singapore. No longer do we have to deal with the Bahrainian mafia. I know I've said it many times before, but this time for real, Oman will be the one to form Arabia. Alright, the next war is gonna be Cyprus and Oman. The game's really trying to make me look stupid, isn't it? And since they're allied with Turkey, they have a higher probability of winning. Look, I know this may seem bad for Oman, but I believe in Oman. They will win. No, they're not gonna win. Okay, but actually 100% this time, Cyprus will be the one forming Arabia. There is no chance that they don't. Alright, an alliance between Bhutan, and since they're allied with Korea, they'll actually be adding someone to their alliance. That'll be Kuwait. Interesting, very interesting. I know the wheel's trying to mess with me here, but fortunately you don't need any territory that Kuwait owns to form Arabia. Yemen is truthfully all that is left. Now it's a conflict where Laos will be attacking Bhutan. Is a 3v1 really the best move, Laos? I mean, perhaps it could be. We see what happened with Oman, but I'm just saying it's not the most probable. I should have known. You know, I really shouldn't have forgotten that the least probable outcome in this game is always the most probable outcome. Alright, next war is going to be Malaysia battling it out with Indonesia. Look at that, they're finally doing something. It only took 500 years, but Indonesia has finally woken up. And they woke up specifically for the purpose of defeating Malaysia. You know, honestly, they woke up specifically for the purpose of defeating Malaysia. You know, honestly, that sounds about right. Okay, next the rebellion from Palestine. And that is completely fine because Palestine is not in Arabia. Alright, next, Laos against Cambodia. Guys, do you know what this means? Finally, no matter what, someone is going to form Indochina. But let's see who that'll be. And it's gonna be Laos. You know, honestly, I'm proud of Laos. Despite bordering almost every nation on the map now, they've still managed to pull through time after time. Say hello to Indochina. Okay, it's Uzbekistan versus Indonesia. They really are going for the most unconventional expansions. And it looks like Indonesia has taken down Uzbekistan. Like, I want to be surprised, but nothing surprises me anymore. Indonesia just took over all of Russia. And also this means that, unfortunately, all the stands are gone. But even more importantly, we're now down to our final 10 nations. Alright, this time it's East Timor. I swear, if East Timor, the nation that has just been camping the entire Royale, the king of doing nothing, conquers all of this, I won't even know what to say, to be honest. Fortunately though, that is not gonna happen. But you know what, East Timor, I have to give it up to you for lasting this long. Alright, rebellion time. And would you look at that, Korea is returning. And yes, Kim is still the director of their nuclear weapons program. Now for another war, where Indonesia will be going after Korea, I guess. I guess Indonesia really does not want Korea around. Wow, yeah, Indonesia won. Okay, Korea's return did not last long. Indonesia was not having any of it. This time time it's the Japanese who are forced to fight Indonesia because that's the only nation they border. Apparently Japan wants revenge for Korea? Who would have thought? But unfortunately, it's not gonna happen. And just like that, Indonesia has taken down both Korea and Japan, making the Pacific coast entirely theirs. And for the first time in a while, we're finally getting an alliance. Okay, Indochina's gonna be going with Myanmar. Alright, this is a fair alliance. I suppose they felt threatened by the Turkish-Cypriot alliance and decided that they needed to team up. Next war is gonna be Myanmar. So here's the thing, they don't actually border
Myanmar.
they're not allied with. So we're just gonna roll again for this one. Alright, so Turkey is going to be attacking Indonesia. If Turkey actually manages to take down Indonesia, it's gonna be insane. And they actually have the advantage as well. And Turkey pulls through. This means that all of this is now Turkish. Remember when I said earlier in the video that I knew Turkey was gonna do something? This is what I was talking about. And as you can see, we really don't have that many nations left. We're now officially in the final stretch. Alright, next war will be the Turks going on the offensive once again. And believe it or not, despite owning all of this land, the only nation they actually border is Indochina. And there goes Indochina. And not just Indochina, Myanmar too. And despite how it looks, there are still 5 nations left on this map. Sri Lanka, Yemen, Cyprus, Palestine, and of course, Turkey. And despite all of this, Arabia still has not formed. But I do believe that Turkey has reclaimed enough core Ottoman territories to call themselves as such. The Ottoman Empire is back. And just for aesthetic purposes, I'm going to change them and their alliance's color to a more traditionally Ottoman color. Our next war will be between Palestine and the Ottoman Cyprus alliance. And it appears they will not be the ones to defeat them. Sorry Palestine, you had a good run, but this is it. And it seems it's time for perhaps our final rebellion. And we are going to see a return from Bahrain. Not once, not twice, but thrice you have returned. No matter how much you want to, there is no chance you are winning this. Next up will be Bahrain. Of course it's Bahrain. Against the Ottoman Cyprus alliance. Bahrain, I'm happy to say it's time you get out for the 3rd time. No. Genuinely, how do they keep getting away with this? Bahrain, I take back every good thing I've ever said about you. You are my least favorite nation. Time for perhaps our second to last war. And surprise, surprise, Bahrain is going on the offensive. It's either Sri Lanka or Yemen, and it's gonna be Yemen. This is it. It's finally over. I will finally be free of Bahrain. Oh. You know, I really didn't think today would be the day that I would be beefing with some random country. But here we are. Congratulations, Bahrain. You did it. You formed Arabia. And here we have it, the finale. And would you look at that? Bahrain is gonna be our final attacker. Let's not waste any more time. We all know who's gonna win. Wait. Oh, Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka did it. Sri Lanka, despite everything, despite doing nothing, actually nothing, genuinely nothing, this entire Royale took down the great evil that plagued this continent, Bahrain, once and for all. Sri Lanka, you have saved us. You have saved us all. You stood so incredibly still this entire game that you ended up winning it all. I am proud to say, on this day, we have seen the creation of the greatest Sri Lankan empire. You alone stood against the tyranny of Bahrain, and we thank you. Okay, all jokes aside, I don't have anything against Bahrain. Let's be real here. But this was really fun. And seriously, I really hope you guys all enjoyed. And if you did, I've actually made a few other battle royales just like this one. The links for those are in the description if you're interested. And if you guys are interested in seeing more videos like this, feel free to like the video and let me know in the comments. Anyways, as always, thanks for watching. I was
各位網友早晨啊，我係鄺俊宇，今日係2025年7月10號禮拜四啊。今次同各位網友一齊講講香港各大最新嘅時事熱話。咁啊，尋晚凌晨開始啦，香港好鬼大雨喎。咁啊，短短唔夠1個鐘頭啊，由掛黃色暴雨警告咧，就變成紅色暴雨警告㗎。咁啊，最新嘅預測如何呢？咁啊，據報今次咧呢個颱風回馬槍就唔係淨係今日落雨㗎，佢 同各位一齊了解一下最新嗰個嘅天氣預測。咁啊，另邊廂亦都講講香港各大最新嘅時事熱話。講落去之前記得撳訂閱，免費訂閱鄺俊宇嘅頻道，睇廣告越長係對鄺仔最大嘅支持啊！衷心多謝各位老友記。事不宜遲，先睇睇呢一則最新消息。根據 HK 嘅最新報導，咁啊颱風丹拿斯啊回馬槍南下㗎。咁啊天文台就話咧，南側季候風與暴雨疊加來襲啊！咁啊未來2日咧，或者係要發黑球嘅喎。內文提到啦，目前減弱為熱帶低氣壓嘅熱帶氣旋丹拿斯回馬槍㗎，由福建嘅內陸向西南移動。天文台估計今日7月10號進入廣東，佢嘅殘餘呢可能喺廣州附近掠過。咁啊佢嘅南側嘅活躍西南季候風就喺今日同埋禮拜5，即係7月11號呢，普遍影響珠江口一帶㗎。咁啊預料本港呢會有暴雨同埋狂風雷暴啊！咁啊天文台尋日晏晝話㗎，丹拿斯嘅南側相關嘅西南季候風將會同暴雨構成共同影響。咁啊珠江口一帶嘅天氣呢，喺未來2日，即係今日同埋聽日呢，變得惡劣㗎，因此將會視乎情況發出暴雨警告同埋俗稱呢黑球嘅強烈季候風警告㗎。咁啊呼籲市民出門前呢，記得留意最新消息啊！咁啊當強烈季候風警告發出嘅時間，代表本港風力相當於3號強風球啊！咁啊，另外呢，尋晚天文台發出紅色暴雨警告㗎。咁啊，新田公路往元朗近模範鄉呢，曾經全線封閉㗎，現場相當擠塞啊！咁啊，內文提到啦，運輸署喺尋晚夜晚11點55分宣布，咁啊，新田公路往元朗方向近模範鄉全線封閉㗎。咁啊，受影響嘅巴士路線呢，係要改道行駛啊！咁啊，就現場這邊見到有警車呢打橫置於路中，封鎖水浸現場嘅路段，後邊就有長長嘅車龍啊，所有車輛都不能夠通過㗎，相當擠塞喎。咁啊，另外呢，大約禮拜3夜晚11點50分，元朗大棠山路呢亦都發生水浸㗎，據報有車輛被困啊，咁啊好彩冇人受傷。以上嚟自 HK 嘅報導，咁啊據報啦，尋晚呢好大雨喎，咁啊尤其是呢喺呢個嘅元朗上水一帶呢，相當大雨，咁有啲地方呢，有車輛係被困㗎，咁啊未知各位網友各區嘅情況如何，咁啊不妨留個言呢報下料。咁啊另邊廂呢未完㗎喎，因為今次呢係颱風嘅回馬槍，咁啊禮拜4呢凌晨開始呢就 keep 住落雨，咁啊據報呢到聽日禮拜5呢都會有類似嘅情況㗎。咁啊，但願就唔好再有世紀暴雨嘅情況出現啦。咁啊，另外有關嘅天氣消息，我哋會持續為各位跟進㗎。咁啊，另邊廂亦都講緊本地消息喎。根據 HK 嘅報導啊，葵涌連鎖店被偷1000蚊嘅護膚品。咁啊，警方查天眼㗎，拉咗一個32歲嘅內地女子起回失物啊。內文提到葵涌發生盜竊案，警方表示日前7月7號接獲葵涌大龍街一個商場裏邊嘅一間連鎖店嘅職員報警，話店內有4支共值約1000蚊嘅美容產品，懷疑俾人偷走㗎。咁啊，警方經深入調查並翻查大量閉路電視片段過後鎖定咗一個涉案嘅女子。警員喺尋日7月9日晏晝喺區內部署拘捕行動。咁啊喺大龍街一個住宅大廈裏邊拘捕咗一個32歲持雙程證嘅內地女子，咁啊涉嫌盜竊㗎。咁啊人員其後亦都搜查被捕女子位於嗰個大廈嘅住宅單位，咁啊檢獲佢犯案嘅時間所着嘅衣物，並成功起回所有嘅失物㗎。咁啊被捕女子現正被扣留調查啊。以上嚟自 HK 嘅報導，咁啊據報呢個內地女子當其時就喺連鎖店裏面偷嘢㗎。咁啊，警方睇翻閉路電視拉到佢㗎，咁啊揭發佢係一個持雙程證嘅內地女子，咁啊案件調查當中。
大家好啊，我係。
屌你！去海洋公園嗰日就最熱黐線。
These are the top 5 most terrifying bird sounds. That'll haunt your soul. Bro, these birds don't chirp. They scream like demons from another...
in the personal data engine, where it is encrypted and securely saved, inaccessible to anyone else, with the decryption key safely stored inside with Knox Vault. Your devices, connected in an ecosystem, protect each other with Knox Matrix, ensuring safe data transfers, while post-quantum cryptography defends against future threats. With 7 years of security and OS updates, long-term protection is guaranteed. And when using Cloud AI, your data is neither shared with others nor used for targeted ads. In the end, you should have full control over your privacy and the power to choose your privacy settings. Even in the era of AI, we believe your personal data should stay personal.
Getting enough sleep is a huge problem for people all over the world. Sleep can be hard for new parents. You have fragmented sleep. You're not getting as much sleep during the night. It's a huge problem for people all over. Getting enough sleep is a huge problem for people all over the world. Sleep can be hard for new parents. You have fragmented sleep. You're not getting as much sleep during the night. There are all of these demands of modern society that make it hard for us to sleep well. Sleep is a state of rest where we recharge our brain and body. My name is Vanessa Hill and I'm a sleep scientist. When I started my YouTube channel, the first video that really got people's attention was about sleep deprivation. I knew then that people were really interested, so I thought I could help, and I took a PhD studying it. Some of the most common factors that prevent people from getting a good night's sleep are stress.
大家好，呢度係公共運輸研究組。大家好，呢度係公共運輸研究組，歡迎翻到嚟我哋最新嘅節目《解讀巴士路線計劃2024至2025》。呢度繼續咧，由我阿 Ben 咧同隊員 Quinlan 啦，大家一齊解讀巴士路線計劃。咁我哋就呢一週咧，我哋就嚟到咧，先講咗788、78K。不過雖然788好啦，但係其實咧，我哋要講嘅係佢加78K 先。但係咩依家咧78K 咧，佢就話咧建議全日延長啊。78K 咧就沙頭角去上水啦。咁其實因為之前因為其實沙頭角咧即係完善沙頭角公路完善個村落咧，即係我哋冇。雖然係冇咗所謂對外需求啊，即係雖然個口岸即係長期都閂咗成2-3年時間，咁雖然冇咗嗰啲對外需求啦，但係其實咧壓力係好大，一路都係繼續。700K 壓力繼續一路都好大，咁啊究其原因係乜嘢咧？就係其實因為我哋之前都講過，我之前好多集或者我哋舊年前年嘅時候我哋都講過，即係 TIA 嘅問題咧，即係而家都我哋叫做即係嗰個喺做任何嘅traffic assessment 啦 ，traffic assessment 咧嘅一個traffic assessment 嘅一個問題嘅，普遍嘅一個問題就係話咧。 因為所有嘅你見所有起樓啊，所有成嗰啲咧，全部都要做 TIA 嘅，全部都要做呢嚿東西。呢嚿東西攞嚟做咩嘅咧？就係用嚟預計咧，我起呢棟樓啦，或者我起咗做咗呢個工程之後啦嚇，咁佢會對交通流量產生幾多影響？所以我哋係啲 TIA 嘅作。咁但係咧TIA 個問題就在於咩咧？因為佢係一個一個碎陰陰嘅工程做嘅，咁所以變成嚟講咧，如果你係同時間多處動工嘅話咧，咁大家做出嚟嘅 TIA 咧，其實最終嘅數咧，可能都係覺得話冇事嘅，大家都係好少嘅。
唔係，即係我個原起就即係例如成條沙頭角公路，我今年有20個樓盤入伙，但係會呢20個樓盤會各自去做。
Are you a Roblox fanatic and want to get free Robux? There is a way that is popular and allows many players to get more than
If it wasn't for France, Russia, and Britain, you could sail in a straight line from Austria to Greece. Not gonna lie, this legit took me a couple minutes to figure out. This is a history joke because France, Russia, and Britain destroyed the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. But if they didn't, we would have had this thick boy right here in Europe. The United States after the Louisiana refund. Forgot that was still on the table. We have the receipt, right? Someone in Washington probably has the receipt. And how much did they sell it to us for? It was about 15 million. I'm pretty sure today France would be willing to give us 15 million back for all that land. Map of Europe out of emojis. This horrifies me. I've got a big problem with this. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, it is actually incredible that you can even do this. I don't know what Luxembourg is doing inside of Germany, but that's cool. Black Sea looking like a weird Tetris shape. And look, they even include the islands like Cyprus and Malta. All right, not gonna lie, this is actually pretty impressive. The United States, if it was colonized by Europe. Wow. Wow. Fascinating. So many weird changes. Could you imagine if the US was colonized by Europe? Crazy world. Map of Europe. I don't know why I said that like I was going to continue with that phrase. This is just a map of Europe, and this is all I need. Actually, again, I know these are basically posts, but they're really, like, talented. They drew Europe through our counties. This is impressive stuff. World map, except it's fair and uncontroversial. Yes, the checkered patterns of the same two countries around the entire world. Oh, and those two countries happen to be Kurdistan and the Holy Roman Empire. Random, no data. As always, here in Greenland, what the hell even happens here? This is actually the first time I haven't seen the no data joke in Korea. That's new. Most common language other than Yiddish or Spanish in the US. Very educational. You know, I bet you there's something interesting somewhere in those smaller states. It's just hard to tell with the font size. USA drawn in 3 lines. Is there now a land bridge that has formed around the Hawaiian Islands? That would make things a lot easier to get to. One Zamibia solution. Wait, okay. I don't know what to say about this one. I'm just gonna move on. Top 12 states to live in, indicated by...
Đất này ngoài dạo ngoài đây có sợ nấu bạc ba bài chúng ta mà thấy lên thì bây giờ phải đúng mau rồi đúng mau quay kỹ lên một cái điều đánh vào đây không biết sao mau 就 fishball，其他就係咪爭就爭3嚿？係咪爭3嚿？唔煲啊！唔煲啊！要佢走。 This cable is not as fast as the Samsung charger is. 幾塊火腿啦。豉油啊！浸就得㗎。屌你媽！我叫你仆你個街，我叫你食嘢啊！有幾多次啊？你聾嘅咩？烏冬啊！咁你繼續坐喺度啊！屌你媽！成朝唔知做乜撚嘢喎，餵嗰幾隻貓。攞貓糧出去餵10分鐘，嚇！揸住條褲屌你老味企喺度睇，嚇！見撚咗條喺度，啱啱見撚咗副面坐喺度㗎啦，坐撚喺度喎。你問佢想點樣樣？嚇！我睇住佢行入嚟度攞貓糧㗎，足餵撚咗10分鐘佢先行翻入嚟㗎，跟住一杯貓糧，你喺嗰度滗完一杯貓糧，呢度倒一啲，嗰度倒一啲，屌你媽！仆街喺度玩喎，揸撚住唔知喺度做乜撚嘢喎！嚇！一杯貓糧，滗撚完一杯貓糧，呢度倒一啲，嗰度倒一啲，係咁簡單啫！仆街一陣間搞掂啦！屌你老母揸撚住喺度嘔臭咁樣喎，咁樣喎，生咗咪逐粒西落去嘅咋佢？唔係啊，佢爭住係咪逐粒西落去嘅咋？朝朝都係咁樣樣噶。佢幾時？要抽錢嗰先咁撚快嘅，人哋行我出去傾一個電話就抽撚咗嘅。咩啊？冇俾你講出嚟啦。做乜嘢？屌你老味閪啊！朝朝都係咁撚樣。你就係咁嘅情況咧，我就唔使俾你放暑假。之後嗰幾時翻學打四，之後嗰幾時打四，係咪同我一樣？定係一個禮拜天堂？屌你阿媽！日日翻工都係咁樣啊！仆街啦！屌你老味人哋就等佢整個嘢，屌你老味！逐粒完，屌你老味！揸上面逐粒完倒落去嘅。
This is every new product that Samsung has just announced. There's new watches, the Galaxy Watch 8, the 8 Classic and the 8 Ultra. There's new software, One UI 8, which you can expect to come to all Samsung phones. And then the main event, these new foldables. There's the Galaxy Fold 7, which is not at all what I expected it to be, a Flip 7, and even for the very first time, a cheaper option, the Flip 7 FE. So let's start with the Galaxy Watch 8. Samsung turned it into a squircle. They call these new square edges the cushion design. The only similarity I can see between this and a cushion is it deserves to be sat on. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Circular smartwatches, I think, look a lot more sophisticated. Square smartwatches, like the Apple Watch, are more functional because you have less information cut off from each of the corners. But then to have a circular screened watch and then try to make it look like a square by adding this uneven, wonky bezel all around feels a lot like buying a Ferrari and then bolting a Caravan to the back of it. That said, using the thing, I have actually never been as impressed by a Galaxy Watch. Adding this uneven, wonky bezel all around feels a lot like buying a Ferrari and then bolting a Caravan to the back of it. That said, using the thing, I have actually never been as impressed by a Galaxy Watch. In one generation, while they have bumped the price up by about £30 or $50, you get an 8% bigger battery, it's 11% thinner, it has a 50% brighter display, you get dual GPS, so location tracking is more accurate, and it's got this slightly different backing that makes it feel a lot more planted on your wrist. Plus, some of the software features are actually sick, like Running Coach, which asks you to do a 12-minute run so that it can analyze you. Then, based on how unfitted sides you are, it'll make you a plan so that one run at a time, you can work your way towards whatever you've set as your desired goal. And then, while running, it will actually tell you when you're doing well or when you're behind and you need to catch up. But also, the watch can measure while you're sleeping, like the load on your heart from stress, alongside things like skin temperature and room temperature. But the really important thing about this that I like is that it's not just, here's another random extra thing for you to keep track of. We have enough of those in our lives. This watch does most of that tracking in the background and then just factors in this extra information when making actually useful recommendations, like tonight you should probably get to bed at 11 p.m. And it's all topped off with a newer, slightly slicker operating system that now has the Now bar baked in too, and Gemini on your watch, which is a little bit slow to use since it's kind of like 2 layers of communication. Your watch has to go to your phone and then back to your watch again, but better than nothing. And then the Watch 8 Classic is basically the exact same story, same squircle, same features, but just with this classier, much heavier metal casing. The only extra functionality you get is the rotating bezel, which, to be fair, is actually a big deal. I'd say if you haven't tried it yet, I think you should before buying a base Galaxy Watch, because it is addictively satisfying to use. And then finally, the new Galaxy Watch Ultra, which is... it's actually like an ultra minor update. I would barely even call this a new watch. It's just a little bit of extra storage, starting at 64 gigs now, and this new titanium blue color. But since the other 2 watches have now suddenly had such a substantial upgrade, the appeal of the Watch Ultra, to me at least, has kind of vanished. Feels like it doesn't really make sense unless you absolutely need this military-grade protected body. But overall then, it's a pretty good year for Samsung watches. So, what about the phones? Well, the first one that I went hands-on with is the Z Fold 7. And I want to preface this by saying this had to be something special, because cards on the table, Samsung foldables have been losing their lead over the last few years, with me even having to take the Best Foldable Phone award away from Samsung last year and give it to Honor. Because frankly, Honor's phone was so much thinner, had a bigger battery, bigger screen, less noticeable crease. The list goes on for a long time. So if Samsung was going to come here today and give us another year of, here's a 5% better camera and a 5% better hinge, I was ready to riot, especially considering that this new Z Fold 7 is now $2,000, so a further $100 more than even last year. Thankfully, Samsung kind of cooked here. $2,000, so a further $100 more than even last year. Thankfully, Samsung kind of cooked here. So the most obvious thing you're going to notice when you first pick it up is the Z Fold 7 is 26% thinner than last gen. Can you remember the last time that a phone just randomly got 26% thinner than its predecessor? I don't, and it feels like an even bigger change than it sounds like.
Points of first grade.
This one phone takes Samsung from having basically the chunkiest foldable on the market to having basically the slimmest. And it's thin enough that this folding phone at 8.9mm when folded is almost exactly the same thickness as most bar phones, and the same weight too. It's actually lighter than my iPhone 16 Pro Max at 215 grams compared to 227. Now the second thing that you'll notice straight after that is it's also a tiny bit taller and quite a lot wider than last year's Fold 6, which is great because it actually fixes quite a few different problems all in one go. Firstly, it improves the aspect ratio on the front. It moves the phone even further away from that TV remote-like narrow experience and even closer to just normal phone territory with a wide enough keyboard that I'm not making any spelling mistakes on this thing now. Second, it makes the inner screen now 8 inches compared to 7.6 on the Fold 6. And the way I see it, the bigger your inner screen is, the easier it is to justify carrying a foldable versus a normal bar phone, because it's like one of the only things it has going for it, and you have to put up with so many other compromises if you're going to do so. And then finally, the extra footprint is the only reason that Samsung can still keep the same sized battery as they had last gen, even with the substantial cut to thickness. Although, I'm going to come back to the battery, because I'm not done yet talking about the design improvements. So, the ultra-thin glass that you have over the inner screen is now 50% thicker. So, does that make it just...
股民都話勁 ，Daytrade 加 AI 炒股實戰課程今日限時免費開放領取。想學短炒波段加 AI 選股技巧，就唔好錯過呢個課程。課程內容包括 AI 輔助你揀股部署、Daytrade 實戰操作、短線買賣位分析、主力資金走勢解碼。即刻登記申請課程，我哋服務顧問即日 send 俾你，名額有限，送完即止。
點解2025年只係嗰幾個月，但係個世界已經變得咁快？差唔多每一日都有啲新嘅 AI 殺到，除咗 ChatGPT、DeepSeek 啦、Manus、Grok， 你嘅競爭對手已經用緊新嘅工具，更加搶緊大家嘅客源。如果大家仲用翻一啲傳統嘅方法去揾客、派傳單、落廣告，當個世界變得咁快，大家都唔進步，下一個被淘汰嘅會係邊個啊？
想唔想知道一個秘密？喺你嗰行裏邊，有一小撮嘅生意老闆賺到盤滿缽滿。佢哋嘅生意幾何級咁增長，最神奇係乜？佢哋冇安裝任何新嘅科技，佢哋冇任何複雜嘅系統，佢哋更加冇任何工商管理嘅學位。你覺得你需要用幾多時間？你揾翻你過去呢2年你嘅生意損失？3個月、3年，只需要3日。喺嚟緊1年3萬嘅 AI 倍增客戶挑戰裏邊，我哋 BCM 將會公開呢一套已經幫助我哋全球超過35000名老闆，令到我哋生意不斷擴展嘅 MS 系統。
今次呢個緊急直播，我哋將會免費公開。嗱，呢一個好可能係你喺呢個經濟寒冬底下突圍而出嘅機會。
呢個系統已經攞到 ISO 9001-2015嘅國際認證。喺呢3日，你將會知道點樣運用呢個系統，令到你嘅生意自動化、系統化，短時間內擴展同埋複製，揾到大量嘅目標客戶，令到你可以追翻過去呢2年嘅生意損失。我哋 BCM 嘅 AI 團隊喺過去幾個月已經研發咗超過50個最新專為中小企而設簡單易用嘅 AI 工具，由請人、培訓、揾客、銷售、客戶服務、法律文件，甚至乎文書會計，幫你即時簡化你嘅工作流程，慳時間、慳成本、慳人工，令你嘅生意全面自動化。如果你想喺呢個經濟環境咁困難嘅情況底下，當其他公司要大幅裁員執笠，但係你呢反而可以不斷咁樣擴展，即刻撳附近嘅連結，到時見。
Hello， 我係阿邦，我係從事的士行業啦。我諗市面上都可能見到新嘅車隊叫做邦道地車隊，入邊有水、有紙巾、有充電線。可能大家都會見到我哋之前拍嗰啲 views 啦。我係完全唔識做 marketing 嘅。點樣會產生咧？好多人都問咗好多條問題啊！點解你會有個車隊嘅產生而做得咁好啊？一定要歸功於 BCM 嘅團隊。我係因為透過 Brandtrust 呢個 program， 即係令到我工作上個 branding 有更加好嘅發展啦之外。我 day one 由唔識去做 marketing 到而家都唔係好識啦，係透過佢講俾我聽個理念啦、個 logo 嘅設計啦、 幫到你車隊嗰個圖表啦，都係佢一手好似教小朋友咁捉住佢手，去幫我去處理，幫我去營運，幫我落地。呢一個係我好佩服同埋好欣賞佢嘅，咁希望大家都覺得好中意啦。咁佢俾咗好多工作上，亦都 personally 俾咗好多個人嘅建議我嘅。咁有恒心嘅老闆咧，我絕對覺得好信任嗰個。如果你哋想揾 marketing 公司咧，一定要揾 BCM。所以我真係超級多謝 Brian Sir， 多謝你。
Let me keep just glass. But this has resulted in, finally, a much less noticeable crease. It's still not quite as clean as some of the other foldables out there, but hey, at least now you don't look like you have a rip going down the middle of your phone. The Z Fold 7 is made of stronger materials from practically every angle. It's got a stronger chassis, it's got a stronger hinge, it's got a stronger backing behind the screen, and there is this new blue color, which I would not normally talk about, but this feels like the first time in recent memory that a company has actually been just a tiny bit brave, and I am all for it. The only slightly unfortunate design flaw is that this is almost definitely the single wobbliest phone I have ever tried to rest on a surface, so you pretty much need a case to balance that out. Aside from that, I am pretty relieved to see that Samsung has finally ditched the under-display selfie camera that we had on previous Z Folds. I mean, it's almost awkward at this point, after 4 years of this company insisting that under-display tech was the way forward, but ultimately this means you get a significantly higher quality selfie camera on the Z Fold 7 for it, that's also a lot wider, with a 100-degree field of view instead of 85. And they've also buffed the rear cameras a lot more than they usually do, which means, finally, the Z Fold 7 does get the same main camera as the Galaxy S25 Ultra. And there are improvements to the ultra-wide camera too, but also, just want to make this super clear, this is still not an ultra-level camera setup. If you're the kind of person who is looking for the best, then you need to know here that everything is still a tiny bit compromised. Like, you're not going to get any laser autofocus. You're not going to get close to the zoom capabilities of the Ultraphone. And because they've also had to compress the camera module so it's not bulging out as much, you get smaller lenses here that are a bit less sharp around the edges. It's good to see, and also very unsurprising to see that Samsung's fitted this with the latest top-end Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, and there's a couple of new software features, but they are, I would say, extremely minor. Like, you know the now bar that you get on your lock screen? Well, that now works with a few more apps. So it can now tell you, for example, how long your Uber's going to be. Audio Eraser has an automatic option, which lets the phone decide which background noises to remove or reduce for you. And there's some improvements to multitasking, being able to drag things between apps better and so on. It's actually such a minor software update that probably the best new software feature is one that you'll be able to get on pretty much every phone anyway. The ability to share your screen with the Gemini AI, so it can talk to you while having the full context of what you're looking at.
When pioneering investments create waves of change, waves that ripple across the world. When they bring the most ambitious visions to life, transforming the way we live and work. When investments nurture innovation and accelerate new technologies. Motivate you to raise your game. And put you on a global stage. When an investment creates ripples that elevate travel experiences. Builds world-class facilities and drives a whole new range of possibilities. When it inspires you to dig deeper and empowers you to step up to the highest level. To play smarter, embrace challenges, and set yourself greater goals. To expand your horizons and go further than you ever dreamed you could. Or even brings a brighter future to millions. When pioneering investments touch every aspect of our lives and build a better world, that's the PIF effect.
That's what you're looking at.
Okay, I see the object. It looks like a brown leather chair with black metal legs.
Not unique to this phone, but very, very cool to use. Anyways, hopefully you've watched enough of our videos at this point to know that this is coming, but I do have some bones to pick with this phone. While I'm glad to see that at least the battery size has been maintained at 4,400 mAh, it does also feel like about time we saw an increase, given that most competing phones are now using more efficient silicon carbon batteries, and some of them have even hit 6,000 mAh plus. Oh yeah, and also S Pen support is completely gone. So while Samsung's foldables have never had an S Pen built inside of them, you have at least been able to use a case to hold one in place on the back, and the inner screens used to have a digitizer that gives them compatibility with it. But that, in the process of thinning, has been chopped, which hurts a lot. For me, it just feels like Samsung's Fold and the S Pen are two products that were destined to merge with each other. I mean, this thing has the most real estate to be able to write stuff on. The phone is made for people who are trying to get lots of stuff done. The phone is literally designed to look and function like a real-life notebook, for goodness sake. But alas, that's the Fold 7, so let's talk Flip, which, unlike the Fold, whose price seems to be only ballooning year on year, is actually becoming more affordable this time. Because this, the Galaxy Flip 7 FE, is $899, which is a $200 saving compared to the $1,099 that you would have to pay for the flagship Galaxy Flip 7. And it just takes one look at this thing to see. This is tech company 101. You want to make a more affordable version of something, so you pull together a bunch of older components that you already have lying around, and you put them inside the body.
疯疯癲rồi.係咪費事完全失身？係咪費事完全失身？
但係我要諗個藉口點樣同老師講話你唔返學喎？咁話講乜嘢好啊？
就唔係唔舒服。
評估晒未啊？
就係爭個數學總評同埋普通話總評。
嚇？仲爭個數學啊？仲有乜嘢啊？幾時評估㗎？今日啊？
數學總評係今日。
冇啊，咁翻啊！你要評估啊，原來你評估就翻埋呢2日啦嚇！你換咗衫先啦。唔得啊！如果你評估你就考試你要翻啊！我以為你考完試咋。
點知3號係撞正牙寶。
翻啊！我老豆因為你同我一齊行翻學校啊，你等佢翻到幫我攞住對鞋，喺個學校門口先至會買啊。
但好彩聽日係嘅夜間1日，如果聽朝仲係咁大嘅狗屎。
你一齊行出去。啊，因為喂，着底衫，除咗佢。我以為你評估完添，我以為你考完試添已經。如果你考完試，我都話唔使你翻，唔俾你翻啦，扮晒嘢同老師講。但係你都未評估完。
其實總之係，其實個總評應該係3號，所以應該過晒 deadline 㗎啦。
唔得啊！你今日都要翻啊！你今日都仲要評估啊！
可能應該係過埋 deadline。
你總之你今日總之係咪要評估啊？數學啊，總之做評估就要翻，唔使講嘢。我叫我老豆送你出去啊！攞埋對拖鞋送你出去，唔係攞埋對鞋，你着拖鞋翻學。去到學校門口咧就咩？去到學校門口先換鞋 ，OK？ 聽唔聽到？
或者係食一間。
唔係喺涼亭嗰度着咪得咯。鞋同襪我都擺落去啊！跟住換咗鞋，叫我老豆幫你攞翻對拖鞋翻嚟，聽唔聽到 ？OK？ 嗱，乜都喺度啦。嗱，你幫我拎下呢個，你幫我啲拖鞋翻學嘅，翻嚟嗰陣你幫佢整翻攞翻拖鞋翻。我你隻鞋係拖鞋喺門口啊！
OK。
你幫我睇下，一次過先至行出去啦。佢行路翻嚟咯，佢真係行路翻嚟㗎。即係喺上水行翻，行翻上水啦。佢快啲換衫啊！乖乖嚟，站啦！
我尋日磅完個背囊11磅。